All righty. All right, y'all. It is Saturday morning, and what is we made it to the month of May, May 3rd today, and want to welcome everybody in. I know that many of you are probably going through season graduations, all of that. And for those of you that are able to drop in today, we'll welcome you in. And those of you that are listening to the replay, want to just say hello to you as well. This is our Dallas chapter for Empower Her, which is a kind of a spinoff from our Tender at Heart, from our Girl Talk program that was normally hosted in Tyler, Texas. And so, with me being here in the area now, me and Faith both being here in the area, we thought it best to do something right here in the city. So, we have started off with a kind of a combination of things. We do our book study uh, um, 1 week, and then another 2 weeks after we normally will get out and do a little bit of an adventure. We have a scheduled event on May the 24th. Right now, it's still there, but we're still trying to look at all the financial particulars because that is a paid event. It is going to be at the Clay Pottery, where you actually are doing pottery work. And it's just a time for building up relationships with ladies and, different things like that. So I'm excited about that taking place. And we'll definitely take a census after everybody comes in on today to see what that will actually, look like. But if we don't go to the pottery, we're going to go somewhere. We're going to get outside the house. It's too pretty to be inside the house all the time. So, welcome Mrs. T. Miss Tina, she's the only one in here with me today, and that's okay. Y'all know I'll roll with one or two. So, but this book study has been so good. Our time of fellowship of coming together has been really good. We had our last Dallas chapter last Saturday at my home here, and we did a fellowship luncheon, which was really nice. Those meetings are turning out to be small, intimate times. That way, the ladies can kind of, open up and share and talk about some of the things that's upon their hearts. And I'm enjoying that time with them. So you'll find out that finding people that you can do life with, it makes life so much better. People that y'all have things in common with one another, it does make life so much better. And once really keep, you got to keep hitting at it though. Sometimes we'll try to do it one time and it's like, oh, I like that, and then the next couple of weeks something else may come. You got to keep hitting at it. You have to intentionally come in, because I know for me it has really been making a major change in my life. Really what it is helping me to find more and more of my purpose in God. And when that begins to start happening, all the other things that the enemy messing with your mind and having you overthinking and doing all that, it has a tendency to just kind of fade away after a while. So, but this morning, good morning, Mrs. Juanita. This morning we're on our book study called Calm My Anxious Heart. And we're doing this study in two places. We're doing it in our devotional on Monday, and then we're also doing it with the Dallas chapter. So the devotional during the week is a little bit further along than our Dallas chapter, but it doesn't hurt to go back and review some of the conversations that have gone on, because all of them have really been good. So today we're going to talk about with being content with my role, the role that I play. Last week we talked about content being me. And now I want to be content in the role that I play, whether it be a mother, whether it be a caregiver, whether it be a co-worker, whether it be a manager, whether it be a wife, whether it be an aunt. You want to be content in those things, because if you're not content in the small things that, God gives to us, he says in the scripture, if you can't run with the footman, I don't know how you're going to run with the horseman. If you can't handle the small things, if you can't be faithful to the small things, those big old things are probably from you. My daughter, she's doing a little something today. I thought it was really, it goes in alignment with what she's doing with her affirmations during the week. She's trying to make sure that she keeps herself occupied, in the right space. So she decided she wanted to go get my granddaughter, and she's gonna go take her out and have a good time, because Anila is a mood changer all by herself. So as she goes to get her, what she does, she finds more and more of her purpose of being content in the role as an aunt, you know, and then Jordan's going with her. She's being content in the role of a mother. And what it does, it helps you to grow and it helps you to learn more about yourself as well. So I want to kind of go, I know you guys are riding and, you know, but I want some engagement in the conversation if you can. Have you guys ever thought about, you know, the roles that you play in life, you know, whether it be a mother, whether it be a coworker, whether it be an aunt, whether it be a daughter? And have you ever thought about whether you were content in those roles or are you ready to hurry up and get that over with? You know, I hurry up and Johnny needs to grow up, or hurry up and mom needs to get well, or hurry up and these problems need to, you know, settle in. Or have you found yourself learning to be content in the role that you're in? Any one of you guys want to share this morning?
Good morning.
Good morning, Tina.
I think I have learned. I'm actually learning how to be the daughter that my mom needs right now uh, as she gets older. Just trying to deal with the sacrifices that you have to make as they get older, and learning how to uh, enjoy, your parents more. And uh, when I was young, like, first, Mama, you need me, But now I'm kind of like, oh, okay, Mom, I'm coming to do that. Well, we're gonna do that on Wednesday, and, you know. So just learning my role, like it's my time to understand that this is what it's about. And so, like, say, I took her to see Patti LaBelle the other night, Thursday night,
Oh,
and
did you?
yes, I took
Nice.
her, and I was like, oh, I'm a mom, because she's at that age where she's either I'm not getting out or I'm not doing nothing. I don't want to do that. I said, no, it's Mother's Day month. I said, I'm gonna take my mom to see Patti LaBelle. She ain't been out the house to do nothing in a while. So when I took her and we had a good time, and in that moment I realized this is what we need to be doing. Spend a little more time together. So I'm learning that, and that's a good thing because I'm thinking, like, because I know for sure one day my daughter gonna be in the same spot, position,
Mm-hmm.
and so I need to embrace it right now because it's gonna come a time when she's gonna do the same thing for me, and I need to be understanding her anxiety, her anxiousness, and because I've been there before, so I'm trying to embrace that. Uh, so I'm learning. I'm
Yeah.
learning. I'm learning.
That's a good example, Tina. Tina, have you found that being a conduit to where God helps you to calm your heart down a little bit?
Yes, and like I said, is it just been in this last maybe 2 months where I was sitting there, I'm like, okay, Tina, just go with the flow. It's going the way it's supposed to go. Calm your nerves, calm your anxiousness, calm everything down, and just have more patience and just try to sit in it
Yeah,
and get the good things out of it.
that's
So,
good.
but I'm learning. Because I have to, I'm learning her personality as she's getting older and how to read her and stuff. So,
That's
but
good. I was reading something. I was going to share it on the post this morning, the Empower Her Room. It was a message where it was talking about learn how to read the room. Learn how to read the room. And that's reading the room of the people in your life. Like what you said, I'm trying to learn where mom is and, you know, don't want her to go through that place of isolation or loneliness or anything like that. Even though some of those things are by choice that they may feel more comfortable in the home. But you know what, Tina, you made me think about something. It's amazing when our children will come in and do something just intentional, even though I may be content doing the things that I'm doing. Wouldn't that be a morale booster just for the kids that come in and say, hey, mom, I know it's Mother's Day month. And matter of fact, I'm going to celebrate you all month long, not just Mother's Day, but celebrate you all month long. Because one of the things that I'm learning is that when we're raising our children, we raise our children with the best that we know how to, but the kids are really not getting to know us. They're getting to know us as a parent. They're not getting to know, are they getting to know us as our parenting style, but they're not really getting to know us as a person. And I think it is very important that, especially women, when we, if you have if you're fortunate enough to still have your mom, or your sisters or whatever, that has to be I guess a turn in the chapter to where we realize we have to get to, even though they're my sister, even though that's my mom, we have to get to know them as an individual person, not as to what we think, because we can make all kind of assumptions about things. And, and to be honest, some of our assumptions have nothing to do with truth or anything. It's just the way that we see it. So I think that's a great way of looking at that. Yeah. Did you want to add anything else to that, Tina?
And you just made me think about, again, I was thinking about my son. I know I was saying in my mind, I've been parenting and parenting and parenting. Now he's just graduating. He's going off to get ready to go off to college, and he's, turned to, his new adult life. And I was just saying in my mind, okay, now Tina, I got to get a chance for him to really see me as in my mind, see me as more than just his parent.
That's
just
right.
I am your parent, but I do have a side to me that's fun and understanding, and I know what life is. So I put in my mind, I say, so this summer, right before we just I'm doing a little hanging out with him, try to take him bowling, me and him one-on-one, just kind of embrace him a little bit so he can, understand that, we good, this is, I can have fun with you too.
That's
so
good.
It's a lot right now. Just everything running through my brain, but I want to do that too.
You know what, Tina? Oh my God, you're bringing up some good points there, because your life is getting ready to shift, Tina. There no more babies gonna be in the house no more. It's like you really having to grow into a new season, and then let me tell y'all something. That empty nesting is real. It's real. And if you have never, had a taste of it, it's like, okay, God, how do we make the best out of this world that we're getting ready to go into? So that's a great pointer there. Anybody want to welcome Mrs. Gabriel in, and then iPhone users want to welcome y'all in. Mrs. Juanita, what about you? Have you thought about things that, you're being content and being you in this season? Have you thought about maybe, some things that we talked about? Just being content. I think you're on mute, Juanita.
There I am.
Okay.
Good morning. How are you guys doing?
Good morning.
No. I think I'm just trying to find my place with what role I am in right now. It just seems like I am in a lot of different roles right now. And I think the biggest one that I feel that I'm in right now is an intercessor. But I was thinking about my nephew who's graduating. He's going through I said he's going up Fool's Mountain right now. That's what I'm calling it. And so I'm trying to see how to interact with him, just like Miss Tina was saying. And I thought about her this morning. I don't know why, but I thank the Lord that she's on here this morning. But I thought about he's getting ready to go off to school, and I need for him to make sure that he has that knowledge or that foundation that he can always depend on us. He always knows that he can have that comfort, that he can see us as being that support system for him, for being those the ones that can talk to us, not just being his aunt, but just being someone that if he has a problem, that he can actually talk to us and share things with us, so that he can get over those struggles or those temptations that he's going to continue to face out in the real world. There's days I wake up and I'm just like, I said, Lord, I just thank you for where I am. I thank you for what you're doing. I'm thankful for the walk that I'm walking right now. And then I just have to try to say, Lord, now order my steps. Let me know what I have to do. But there's just so many things that are going on, so many roles that I play, because I have to be the leader. I want to be the comforter. I want to be the supporter, but I still have to take time for me. And that's a lot of things that I'm doing now, is that I do that. And when I tell you it's 24 hours a day, it's 24 hours a day. It's 24.
Mm.
I have my time to sleep. I do my work. I do the business. I comfort. I pray. It's just like I'm just like, wow. I said, okay, Lord, this is the season that I'm in, and I started looking at the other book that we have, and it's talking about those different seasons that you're going through, and I mean, this is I mean, it's wonderful. It is wonderful, and but yes, I'm just learning to be content, Miss Tina. And I thought about you this morning, and for some reason I was going to reach out to you, but I'm glad you're here, and I like to talk to you after this, Miss Tina.
Amen. You know what? I like that, Juanita. I'm typing something in the chat box right now. I want, while we're hot in the moment of the conversation of what we're talking about, it will be good to take a moment to jot down the roles that you serve in. What place are you can take? Because the title is called "Content with My Role." What role are you playing right now? Juanita says she's playing the role of so many different things. Y'all, if you would just take a moment and write it down so that you can bring it to the forefront, so that you can see it yourself, that these are all the things that I'm doing. I'm playing the role of a mother. I'm playing the role of a spouse. I'm blessed to have the role, and then put I'm blessed at the front of it. I'm blessed to play the role of a mother. I'm blessed to be, not to play the role, but to be in the role of a mother. I'm blessed to be in the role of a daughter. I'm blessed to be in the role of a wife. I'm blessed to be in the role of a manager. I'm blessed to be in the role of a protector. I'm blessed to be in the role of a provider. And what it will do is it will help you to realize where a lot of your anxiety may be coming from, and then you have to ask yourself the question, what am I doing to hone in on developing those skills for the role that I'm playing or the role that I'm in as a mother? Am I still making sure that I, first of all, identify what season of life of a mother I'm in? Do I have small children? Do I have teen children? Do I have adult children? And everything changes with each one of those roles. So you may want to take time to jot that down so that you can have a visual of what they may look like, and then find out where you may need the help and assistance at, or areas you may be strong in that you could give out to someone else to help them with things. So good one, Juanita. Anybody else want to take a shot at it? We're talking about have you identified the roles that you are in this particular season? What are some of the roles that you are in? Anybody that may want to share?
Back at me.
Okay.
So my daughter had moved back home, and so I've noticed since she's been home, I had kind of slowly moved out the strong parenting role because she's grown. She's 31, so I try to be more like friends a little bit now, more because we can hang out, we go places together. We talk about life and the news, what's going on, and give her advice. And now I know that she has her own strong opinions and stuff about things. So I have learned how to just sit in it. Like, oh, well, my mom, I can't tell her how to, I am mom, but she's grown. I can't tell her this and tell her that. She do things the way she want to do things. So that was a learning phase since she came home for me to get in that role. But I'm enjoying that role though, because I'm not hovering over her, trying to parent, watch her this and watch, because she's moving right along, doing what she's supposed to be doing in life and how she want to do it. So it makes me feel good.
That's good.
Makes me feel more relaxed. But I had to learn that, like, oh, Tina, you fussing at her or is you talking to her? So that's been one of the challenges. Like, oh, are you fussing? Are you talking? Are you giving orders? Or are you letting her be a grown adult?
Yeah. And so, you know what? And Tina, have you ever thought about it's just as difficult for them to switch hats too? Because though they know you are the mother, they know that they're adults too. And they have to start making some decisions on their own. So both of you are kind of, passing through that thing at the same time. That was a good analogy on that, because sometimes, we want to stay in that role of parenting. and you still may be parent. I don't think you'll ever finish parenting your kids, but you parent differently. Maybe this time you parent by example. You know, maybe you parent by patience. Maybe in your earlier years of parenting, you were not as patient as you were before. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to show them what patience look like. I want to show them what charity looks like. I want to show them what togetherness looks like, you know. And as you guys are jotting on your, you know, just, I know you may go back and listen to this after it's over with, but take out the time to, you know, do this exercise to go in and see how those roles have changed, you know, right now in the season that you're in, because the biggest thing is to be in the present moment. We can't parent like we did when they were a lot younger. You have to parent to where they are right now. Even if they were yesterday younger, you have to parent to where they are right now. So being content in that. That's a good, we're probably going to pick that one back up in a little bit too, Tina, and talk about it more. Anybody else want to talk about what role they are playing and how content you are in that role? I work in, I have, like Paul said, I'm learning to be content. Anybody else want to share? Anybody else? Okay. All right. I know you guys are probably driving out there, but feel free to raise your hand or open up your mic, and I'll see it open, and then we'll talk more about it. So, but I think this is going to be another great one. Well, let's go ahead and get started with the chapter. This is Mariana's story. It says, my shoes sank into the thick brown mud surrounding the jury utilitarian apartment complex. Where were the trees and flowers? My heart pounded as several women and I crept up the 7th flight of cement stairs to Meridian's 1-bedroom apartment with only 400 square feet of living space. Mariana and her husband slept on a bed in the living room, while their 3 children shared the bedroom. As I entered, 20 women greeted me. Now, mind you, in a little bitty apartment, 20 women greeted me with hugs and kisses on both cheeks. How dear these women were, but how tired they looked. The Romanian government required that everyone, mothers included, work 5.5 days a week. Food was scarce, and most women stood in line for hours before going to work each morning. That meant getting up as early as 4 a.m. and returning home at 6 p.m. The evenings were spent cooking, not mixing or McDonald's available, washing clothes, often by hand, and hanging the wash around the apartment to dry. On top of such a strenuous physical existence, these Christians live under an oppressive spiritual climate. Christian meetings were forbidden. If we were discovered having a Christian Bible study, a house search, interrogation, or worse could result. Mariana had told us to begin singing happy birthday if someone knocked on the door. Since once a month the women came to these meetings, the date, time, and place were passed by word of mouth or obscure phone calls such as the party will be at. I had come to this clandestine meeting to share with these women about the wife's role in marriage. Before I began, Mariana went to a cupboard and pulled out a dog-eared manuscript that says "Creator," whatever that word is, on the cover. It says, through the translator, I learned this was a hand-typed copy of my book, Creative Counterpart. Creative Counterpart. She said, whenever a woman in the church got married, Mariana typed the bride a copy of her ancient typewriter, and Mariana typed the bride a copy on her ancient typewriter. She said, I was speechless. I remained mute as this exhausted, overworked woman talked about how she was growing in her role as a wife. Every day when I come home from work, I take a half hour nap. That way I can stay up longer than our 18-year-old son and have some time alone with my husband. We now take walks around the apartment complex so we can talk alone. I've been saving my money. In six or more months, I'll have enough for us to go to a hotel for a night alone together. Her words went straight to my heart. 6 months to save enough money to get a hotel room, daily walks around the Lord's words echoed in my mind, to whom much is given, much is required. How little Mariana had, but how much I had been given. So she chose to dwell in the positives in her role as a wife and gave all to God and to her husband. Could you do the same? Wow. That and us, it's hard for us to be inconvenienced. That for because me, I'm thinking in my mind a little old 400 square apartment when you've been used to maybe 2,000 square feet or even 900 square feet. That would, be something that we probably would complain about all the time. But not only did she have a 400 square apartment, she shared it with her husband and her children. And then later on, and it talked about how her husband and her they slept up in the living room and they gave the bedroom to the children. And then she said she brought all these women in the house so that they can have Bible study. You talking about making the best out of what you got, to whom much is given, much is required, and then not complaining about it at all. And then she's talking about how she's working to save up some money. Y'all, just that getting up early in the morning time. You talking about taking your role serious, getting up early in the morning time, making sure you prepare, breakfast or whatever for the family. And then you're having to go off to work to deal with whatever, it may offer. And then coming home late at night, knowing you're getting ready to start all this all over again. You don't know what the kids don't know. The kids are not really engulfed in what you do at work. All they know is you're their mother. And when they come home, they want to eat. They don't care about what Johnny said as your manager. They don't care about what Rick did, that co-worker on your job. All they want you to do is switch hats and come home and be a mom. That means coming cooking. That means listening to my problem. We got to be a therapist. We got to be a life coach to them. We got to be a little, helping them with their little woes and little bitty things. They want to show you their little show and tell. All kinds of little things. And you talking about being content. Could you be content in that, or do we find ourselves complaining more than anything else? Anybody want to take a stab at that one? That one hit at the heart there. Anybody? How often do we find ourselves complaining about things? Oh, Miss Juanita, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I used to be a big complainer. Oh yeah, that's what they used to say. Whenever I opened my mouth, that I was complaining. So I have changed and realized that, and I didn't think I was complaining. I was just trying to stress what I thought needed to be done. So that's how I looked at it. But it was complaining. But yes,
Yeah.
I look at things differently now. I see how they perceived it. So I do step back and just go a different route now. So but yes, it's easy to do because you have your way of doing things and you have your way of presenting things. But it's just like the water running. I cannot stand to hear water just constantly running. Why is the water running while you brush your teeth? Put the water on the toothbrush, brush your teeth, turn the water off, turn the water back on. So why am I complaining about it? I just don't want to hear that water running. So, but that's complaining. So you pay the water bill, go ahead, let it run all day. I don't care now. So, but yes, it's just those little things. Just if you allow it to happen, the devil can just come in, just give you anything just to complain about. But yes, just be content. Okay, well, thank God that he's able to brush his teeth, but thank God that he can do it on his own. Just thank God you don't have the running water. You just have to change your thought life. Just think things differently.
Yeah. Thank you for that transparency, Juanita, because I'm quite sure we all find something that I think the complaining comes from being overwhelmed and not, exchanging hats. And sometimes we can be on the job and be just as patient with the people on the job, or we can go to the church and be just as patient with the people at church. And then, or we can come into ministry, be just as patient with the people there. But when we go home, we can't find nothing left. And a lot of that happens when we have given a lot of ourselves away and have not prioritized where our time really needs to be. So that was a good one. Anybody else want to share this morning? Anybody else? These sessions, they will make you think about a lot, because I'm just thinking about some things, even in my own life. Like when I get up on Saturday morning, I take, take the day as it is. May have had a lot of things that I did the day before, but it's time to shut that day down and come, into this, new day. Because remember, the mercies of God, the Bible says that they're new every morning. And I used up all my mercy for yesterday. Okay. Whether I squandered my time, didn't appropriate it right or whatever, but I get a new opportunity to do it again today. And when we get up, we get an opportunity to start thinking about, all right, what role, and I think this is one thing we can do when your mind is fresh. What role am I playing today? If you're married, you're automatically playing the role or in the role of a wife. All right, what else? If I have children at home, I'm playing the role of a mother. If the children are not out of the house, I'm still playing the role of a mother, but I'm playing it in a different way. My role as a mother with my children outside the home should not take the place of my role as a wife with my husband, because they are no longer in the house, And I think a lot of it is being content. All right, am I happy with what I have? Am I happy with the portion that God has given to me? Have any of you thought about that particular complaint in your life, whether you are happy with the portion that God has given to you? Anybody want to share? Y'all feel free to open up your mic and your cameras and all of that.
And say, hey, everybody, how y'all doing? I can say that the easiest way for me to make myself content or just to check in with myself is just to remind myself of being grateful. Yeah. So for instance, I don't fit a lot of statistics. I have a home to come to. I remember maybe like 10 years ago, being at church and just praying like, man, I just can't wait to have a house I'm proud of. And so now I'm able to live in that so even if I want to say, man, I wish these floors was different, but you know what, at least I get to plan on them floors because I'm living in them. So I constantly do a self-check. Just so I know, after every conversation, after a lot of stuff, I'm always doing a self-check. I guess that's built-in memory of taking care of myself, but ain't nobody else gonna check me. So I need to always be able to self-check myself. And the roles that I play, I never thought about the roles, but I do realize that later in life, I realized that just there are important to have those roles and to kind of individualize. For instance, I have 2 teenagers, and at first I used to just do everything with them together. But even though they're 3 years apart, I need to separate that. I need to, I start telling my husband, like, look, you need to plan a date specifically for this one and specifically for that one and specifically for me.
Mm-hmm. That's good. And I think that's a place of consciousness that we have to be in, is realizing that everybody wants to be, because I know, like, for me as a single parent, that was probably one of the struggles that I had. It was like, you're trying to be one person to 3 people, you're trying to spread yourself out like that. And, some of the things I had to do, I had to take it one by one. And, I think sometimes you have to really stop and think about that. Am I being content in the role of man? That means like here it is Saturday, and you want to take time to express the importance of the people in your life. It could be something as simple as, when I get up in the morning time, it's kind of like the lady said, she had to, get enough rest to where she could stay up long enough to be up when her teenage child, until it was time for her teenage child to go to bed. So the kids don't be out there doing stuff that they shouldn't be doing, or whatever the case may be. So you can spend some real time with them. But I think in the morning time, one of the things that God gives us as a women, give us as women the ability to do, and that's multitask. You know, we got all kind of ways that we can, you know, God will give us innovative ideas on doing things. And I think early in the morning is the time that we take time to intentionally think about the roles that we're going to play. Just say, for instance, if you have a high strung husband, you have a high strung child, you have a high strung, and sometimes what I mean is needy children or whatever, you got to get ahead of the game with them, because they're always going to be on top of needing this and need that, need that, need that. And I think as you're learning them, you try to find out where the language is missing that they need to help them to settle down, because that's what it is. You're settling their anxious hearts down as well, you know, and then doing it with joy. You know, you don't have to overdo it or anything, but just let them know that you acknowledge them. It could be a simple, you know, texting you in the morning time or fixing you some breakfast in the morning time, you know, different things like that. So have you guys ever thought about ways that you start your morning with the roles that you play? And do you do it with the intention of thinking about the people that are close to you? Anybody ever thought about that?
I know I do. Well, I used to when my children were younger. I was very intentional on loud music, you whether any kind of feel good music. Let's wake up, let's hey. And I'm even today, oh, you woke up on the wrong side of the bed. Mom, ain't nothing wrong with your face, don't say it, you know,
That
because
part,
at the
yes.
end of the day, like I remember I told the girls just for this shared thing that's coming up at church. I said, hey, I said, I don't know if I want y'all to go with me. You can go, but when you get there, y'all gonna walk by yourself. They was like, why? I said, cause y'all be having stank face. I was like,
That part.
and I was like, they gonna look at me like, what you do to them? I ain't do none of them. That's just what they look like.
That's
So
good. Yeah,
yes, it's very intentional.
I love it. Anybody else this morning? Anything y'all think about that you do in the morning time? You know, with the roles that you play, or things that you may, you know, you may be acknowledging now. You know what? I don't put enough time into that. What are some of the things that I could do better with that? Anybody? Okay. All right. Well, let's keep going on. So she goes on with the story, and she said, Linda, you are one of the few married women I know who is happy. We're going to talk about marriage in a minute. I've observed the women on our mission, the wives in our mission. Of the 40 I know, only 3 are glad to be married. This sobering comment came from a single missionary woman I respected. Could she be right? Do women who love Christ and desire to serve him truly give the impression that they are discontented in their marriages? Fred, a single pastor, made a equally disturbing observation. When asked if the single women in the church were content with their singleness, he replied, absolutely not. Every week I have weepy women in my office convinced they are doomed to a life of loneliness. They're trading water, biding time until Mr. Right comes along. They believe that singleness is not the complete will of God for them. Ironic, isn't it? Single women look at married women and wish for a husband. Married women look at husbands and wish for a different one. Childless women long for children, and mothers long for the day when their kids will be in school. It is even possible to be content. Is it even possible to be content with the role in the here and now? I think that's a good point to make too, because sometimes we are busy wanting to be somewhere else. We are just not content. Y'all, I'm gonna stand up again. We are just not content, you know, in the roles that we play on, you know, various levels. And sometimes that's with our kids. It's like, you know, maybe this job that I have. Y'all, I know I have been like that. I have been in states to where I have been very discontent with things, and you know, really didn't, you know, feel that that was a place of peace or happiness for me. And then I started realizing you are a part of the equation. You have to make that work for you. One, you got to make right choices with things, whether that be a maid or whatever it may be. You know, you have to start thinking about, okay, you know, how is this going to affect, you know, the household, different things like that. But when I love that part when they talked about that, about how they are just, not content with a lot of things. Single people want to be married, and married people want to may want another husband. And think about it, only 3 are happy with their marriages. Y'all, I started really pondering upon that early in life, that I wanted to be in a, relationship to where it ain't got to be perfect, but we need to like each other. We really need to like it. We need to like each other so much to where when the times are bad, that we can settle down, calm down, and not wish for another. Because everybody's not going to have a good day, or you don't always see the good in it, because sometimes it's like every time you turn around, it's always something happening. And I think we have to really start thinking about how we are seeing that, because the enemy can play on your mind. If you keep putting things in the atmosphere like, I'm sick of this, I'm sick of them, they always leaving their clothes out, they don't never get this right, they'll never get that right. That's a sign that you're discontent in that relationship. And a lot of it is because we're not finding anything good in it. Anybody want to share on that one right quick? And I know that's a vulnerable conversation right there to have. Anybody?
I just want to say I agree with what it says. Like, I do think that oftentimes people it's easy to get caught up in, oh, I wish my spouse was like this, or, oh, I wish my spouse was like this other spouse. But again, bringing it all back home to be able to think about, okay, let's break this down and make it make sense. If my husband was that suave, he'd probably be a cheater. Or if my,
good one.
I mean, it's just so many. And I had this conversation with my friend. I've been married for 15 years. She's been married for about 7. And I'm telling her now, like, girl, listen, there are so many things that I want you to just not trip out about, because it's not that I think I was saying it before. I wish it was like this, or I wish it was like this. But if it was like that, let's just really look at the kind of guys that are like that. And so I'm like, you know what? I'd rather have somebody that is teachable than to have somebody that already came in the gate knowing everything. I'd rather have somebody that is head over heels for me, and maybe not the best looking, but at the same time, that's way better than having somebody that I'm constantly have to worry about. And believe me, just because they married you, they gonna want them anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying it's true. Like, I just think it is very true to want something else, but I think it all needs to come back home to, make it make sense, and really realize that, like I could be like, oh, I wish my husband was this, but I don't wake up and cook for them. He might wake up and cook for me. I'm not waking up and cook for them. I got stuff in there for y'all.
Wow. That's good. That's a good analogy there, being content, because if they were maybe something that you've been fantasizing about, look at people that live the life of what your fantasy is and see how that works.
It's
And
true.
yeah, I never thought about it like that, because sometimes, boy, we can be in a one tunnel zone to where I want this, this is what I think that it is. But I believe one of the main things when it comes down to, like the relationships is, like you say, find somebody that you guys, you really like each other first of all. That's why it's important to build friendship in the relationship. Make sure you guys like each other. And then also, to tell each other the things that you enjoy about them from time to time. Maybe you don't enjoy the way they look. Maybe they are not the most handsome person, but you need to find something that does look good on them.
Yeah.
I like the way you come home every day. I like the way that you look after your mom. You care for your mom. Y'all will be amazed at how, when we find contentment in the roles that we play, that you're able to calm a storm that may be taking place in a person. Because a lot of people are dealing with insecurities. They're dealing with, childhood rejections. Though they're married, they still deal with those childhood rejections. And I think a lot of times, even for single people, you got to be ready for the married life, and it can't be, you're talking about sharing of your space, sharing of your everything, because it just can't be about you. You got to be willing to, pour something into someone else. And if you're empty, if your fountain is empty, it's going to be hard to pour in affirmations, or to pour in, you can do it, or to pour in good memories or thoughts that you have. It's not good to always tell people about the negative things that you've gone through, in life, or always pulling out their faults all the time. So great one. Anybody else want to share on that one?
Good afternoon.
Dion.
I think sometimes, at least for me, we can look at other people's marriages or relationships and we envy that or we want that, but just because it look a certain way now, we don't take in account what all they had to get there. Every marriage or relationship is work. So I had to pull back and stop being so concerned or envious of my siblings' marriages and relationships because I'm still single. I have to, and I say have to because I am still learning to be content in my singleness.
Yeah.
God knows I desire to be married. So I have to be content in my singleness until I'm fully content in my singleness and start preparing for that relationship. He's not going to let me have that. Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to say that.
That's good. That's good. And then, Dion, that's a good thing there. One of the things we have to remember is God knows your heart. He knows the things that are on your heart. And believe it or not, God really is trying to get what it is that we need to us. But if he finds that place to where we are not content with the small thing, remember he said, if you can't run with the footman, it's going to be hard for you to run with the horseman. Those little bitty things, like, you're fussing about them picking up their shoes or picking up their clothes, or you may have to find something else, maybe put a basket in the front of the room or whatever. Find a little bit more. That's why I say you need to like them, because if you don't like them, everything they do gonna get on your nerves, And so I think building intentional times of building conflict resolution, learning how to have right conversations with people, proper conversation, communicating to where it's not a dialogue. I'm not talking at you, and then sometimes I think we have to learn how to leave well enough alone. Don't keep picking at things. You know how sometimes you can pull up some insecurity from your past, and every time you talk to, that's what you're talking about all the time. Being content. God is forming you into the beautiful vessel that you need to be for what it is that you're asking for. Now, if we asking for something and we go in completely contrary to what God speaks about that, you don't speak well of them, you don't have a model of what a good relationship looks like, you're going to stumble with that a lot. So it may be taking a little bit longer, to get your mail to you. It's kind of like having one of those rural mail carriers. And sometimes they may get to you on time and sometimes they don't. Just depend on the conditions of the roads and all kinds of things. So yeah, that's a message all by itself, Dion. But a lot of people are in that space. They're not being content in singleness. Anybody else want to share anything? Thank you, Ms. Dion.
I'm not gonna really share too much, but I understand exactly what everyone is saying, coming out of the relationship that I just came out of. But I know, to me, I feel like we could picture like, oh, we want this and want that. Oh, I want that. I want my, but you have to really know and ask God for what you need. Because you want a lot of things, but that's maybe not what you need, though. And you're trying to get what you want, but mess everything up instead of getting what you need.
Absolutely.
And, so you may want, I'm just saying, oh, I want this big house, but maybe you don't need this big house because maybe you can't afford that big house, but you go get it anyway. So you always have to I had to learn that you have to figure out what it is that you need and what God wants for you. Not what you want, but what God wants for you and what you need. If you kind of put that together, I think you'll do good. And I think that we uh, get caught up in all our wants and what everybody else have.
Yeah.
And then we miss out on a lot of good things.
Yeah. I believe that, Tina. I think we're misappropriating our time and even our prayers. We're misdirecting our prayers because sometimes we may be praying a prayer that belongs in Juanita's house, or we may be praying a prayer that may belong in Susan's house. That's because I've been keeping my eye on them and I want to model what it is that I see. Y'all, there's this couple that's in our ministry. My admin, I was telling her the other day how I love the relationship that she and her spouse have. That's the only thing I see is like, how they conduct, things with each other, but I'm not behind the scene. So I wouldn't dare try to go in and mimic it. But I do love I love the way he treats her. I love the way she speaks well of him. Now I know it's probably things in the middle of it that, they may be unspoken things or whatever, but I can't try to model what I see with them. I can just kind of take some things. I like the way he talks about her. I like the way she talks about him. I don't have to see everything else and want to model everything. So I'm saying that to say a lot of times we're picking little bitty things from people's environments or whatever. Sometimes I may need to be around people that have patience in their relations. It don't make no difference what they do. That person's got so much love and patience in their heart, they can find something good out of it. I think you need to be around people that can help to cultivate, that level of capacity in your heart. Or it could be like, maybe the fathers, they take so much time with their children, especially their girls out there. I like the way they do that. And ladies, if you have, people in your life like that, I think it's very important that you cultivate that and let them, don't be jealous because they spend time with the girls, but tell them how important that is for you. That was a part of your prayer that you prayed before y'all got together. I wanted my children to have a father that, could be a model so that they would know what type of man to choose when they got a lot older. So that may be their moment. And I want to appreciate that. So we take little bitty pieces like, okay. And not only him, the way he treats his children, just think about it. If you bring blended families together, you want that to be reciprocated, and you want to speak well of them, to give them time to just speak well of them and the good things that they do. If that makes sense to you guys, because I can imagine when they talking about that, sometimes, you wishing one, you want to be married, and then when you get married, it's like, this is not what I wanted. This is not what I signed up. It's probably because we were not clear, or we moved too quickly with a lot of things without working out a lot of the details with it. And it happens. And it doesn't mean it have to be the end of the world. We just have to go back and kind of punt again with some things. Did anybody else want to share on that one before we go to the next part?
Yes. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning, Anita.
I thank you so much, Miss Marilyn. Everything that all of your teachings is just, it's hitting home. And then a lot of it is like, if I have a conversation with someone,
Mm-hmm.
and then you touch on the topics, I said, okay, I'm in the right place. I'm in the right realm. And it's I know I had responded to one of my Facebook friends when she was talking about marriages, and she had posted a picture of her and her husband, and she just recently got married. And I responded and I said, yes, it's beautiful, but you have to like each other in order to make it work. And I've had friends in the past tell me, well, Anita, you get who like you and you will learn to love them. I said, no, maybe that work for you. That don't work for me. For the simple fact of it is, I'm an old fantasy of love. I believe in love.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't love you, I'm not going through the storm with you. I'm going to bounce because I know me. And then you think about, okay, I'm having to dig through. Why am I suffering? Why am I going through this? I'm not in love. That's me. That's who I am. And I've heard a lot of women, they've said that to me. I mean, baby, that may have worked for you. Maybe you feel that way, and maybe that's the way you were taught, and this and this and this and this, but that's not my belief.
Mm,
I believe that I'm worthy to go in loving my mate.
that's right, Anita.
I don't have to learn to love anybody, and I don't have to accept what is not comfortable for me.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's just me, and like some of my friends say, well, you may have passed up your husband. I said, you know what? You may possibly be right, because I am picky. I'm the only girl and the youngest, daddy's little girl. And I just believe that, although I know that I'm hard, and this has helped me to soften my spirit, because my expectations is so high.
Come on.
And because of the type of man my father was, and the type of men I grew up around, real men. I know what a man is supposed to do and what he's not supposed to do, how
Mhm.
you're supposed to be treated. And I don't accept, and nor have I ever tolerated less than.
Yeah.
And I thank God for that. I've never been one of those women that had daddy issues. I've never been one of those that was insecure. But I have to be mindful, and I have to watch myself, because that can also cause a realm of uncomfortableness, and it has, to the point to where you are looked at in a dis in a negative manner, and that's really not what you're trying to present. You just, I mean what I say, and I stand on what I say.
Yeah.
And it's but it has that has cost me in the past, because sometimes people will make you pay for your thoughts, and but I guess I'm getting off the subject a little bit. But it's like, like a lot of what the ladies have said, is that being comfortable in my singleness,
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
and that's the main thing, knowing who you are and whose you are, and not
Absolutely.
accepting less than. It does not matter what the age is, because I just turned 60, and I never in my dearest mind ever thought I would have been single at 60.
I
And
know, right?
okay, never being married, never having children, then in the type, and like I said, I was raised in a strict environment, and I was just terrified of my mom. And you not married, you don't have no kids, and da 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 da. I literally was terrified of my mother, and I didn't try her, So I but I think back on all the men that asked me, and I turned them down, because I did not see myself being with them forever. And marriage is forever to me. My
Yeah,
parents were
that's
married
right.
52 years, and I'm like, I ain't marrying you. I don't like you like that. You know, and that's the way I was. I mean, you was okay at that moment, but not. And I don't know what I was thinking about, because I, should not have been involved then. But I guess just living life, going through
Mm,
life, just living. Doing my thing, doing my do, and I had the motto was, put your feelings in your hand, your heart in your pocket, and that's your problem, it ain't mine. you know
wow. Yeah.
and I just, when I think back on it, I'm like, I should have married that first one that asked me.
Yep. Yep.
And
Yeah.
but in my mind, I'm like, I'm too young. I got the rest of my life to get married. And then, I had the type of attitude was, if I wanted to be with you at the beginning, and then somehow we broke up or whatever, I've never been one to backtrack. You couldn't come back to me. I don't know if it was a pride thing, an ego thing, and all of them tried. Nah, boo, I wasn't it then. Bye.
Yeah.
And like I said, I mean, I don't know if it was a pride thing, it was an ego thing, but if I wasn't it the first time around, I'm definitely not gonna be it the second. So go on. And but as I've gotten older, you mature, you get wiser, and you just really think back over, how things could have been.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
and had different choices. And I'm a firm believer, it's like my mother told me, she said, baby, she said, life is not hard, life is easy. It's the choices that you make
Yeah. I believe that.
makes your life hard. And I don't regret anything, any decisions I've made in life. I just know at this stage of my life, I can't afford to make the wrong decisions
Yeah. Yeah.
and I can't take chances. I have to move strategically
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
I have to make sure that the moves that I make are profitable for the life in which I feel as though God is destined me in, and not taking that chance and not being an opportunist.
Absolutely. Very well said,
Uh,
Anita. And I really believe that you got your focus together on that. It's just let's follow through with it. All
yeah,
right, God. If
yes,
anything else, if anything tries to present itself that
yes,
goes against my value system, I don't have to argue with people. I'm already arguing with myself enough. I can't believe I'm 6 years old, still single,
right, right,
And so I think a lot of times, all right, remember I said every day, mercies of God are every new. What role am I playing? I'm
right.
playing the role of a single person right now.
Hmm.
And the question that I have is, am I being content in my singleness? That
Yeah,
means, are there some things that you want to do? Maybe, maybe you've seen some things about yourself that were not what is it, advantageous or whatever, to your advantage.
yes,
Maybe
yes,
your hot head, or maybe
yes.
your
Oh,
sometimes we'll hear people saying things about, it was something Gabriel put in here. She said, don't count out the wants, though. God gives us our desires. There's a
yes.
lot of things that we want. And well, I'm not gonna waste my time talking to somebody about what I don't want. I'm gonna focus on what I do want. And I
Mm-hmm.
think sometimes in our singleness, we have to learn a language. Y'all, I'm gonna get off camera for just a sec so I can roll this table down. But I think that sometimes we have to sit in the role of
Hmm.
whatever we are until change comes. And
Oh,
change will come. The more you keep hitting at a thing and the more you keep believing that you're worthy of that. And, God, no matter what it looked like in the beginning stages, and no matter where I came from, maybe all of the, maybe it don't look like our family is going to ever have anything like that. It matters what you say to yourself. And if you start speaking positive things over yourself, I'm telling you, anything can begin to start happening. But I think the key is, when I get into this space of contentment with where I am, that's what I'm going to talk about. I'm not going to wish I was married. I'm not going to wish I was somewhere else, because ladies, if you only could hear what we sound like to other people when we say things like that, and they're over there already in a marriage, and they're looking at, what do you think it's going to be like when you get married? Are you loving yourself where you are right now? But a
mm-hmm.
lot of time we'll put things out there. It's like, I'm so tired of being in this space. I've been here so long. But I think if we do get to a place, all right, learning how to be okay, well, where we are, what would you like to change? I'm bored. Okay, what else can you do? Do you have people that you would like to go out with? Because believe it or not, I don't want that type of marriage anyway. I want my husband and I to be close to one another, but I don't want us to do everything together. There are times when I want to spend time with the ladies. I want to spend time with just my sisters, different things like that. So I want to think about, do I have a guy that's okay with that? So there's some things I'm having to learn. And if he's too clingy and all that kind of stuff, that may not be, a good fit. So I'm going to be content in singleness to learn about me. What are the things that I like? I changed my mind. I don't like what I like when I was 15. I like a man that works. I may not, even when I may have been 25 or whatever, And I don't like it when he needs to use my car all the time. I want him to have his own car, you know. I may not like it. And then you got to remember, they saying the same thing about us, because the more, listen to that, the more you push your quality level up, the more you're going to meet a man that thinks just like you do. They don't want no woman that's riding around without no car either. You know, I don't want no man got no bad attitude. This type of man, he don't want no woman got no bad attitude either. I don't want no man that's broke. Okay, you up to another level. He don't want no woman that's broke either. They don't want it. It don't mean that that's not going to happen, to where we have, different, hang-ups or whatever. But stop and think about what it is that we're saying, and are we presenting ourselves in that same fashion? Because when I get there, that same thing that I'm looking for, that guy's looking for the same thing. He don't want no woman that's unstable. You don't want no man that's unstable. And you have to make sure you are to be what it is that you want. Great one there. Amen. All right, let's move to the next part. It says, I can't wait until. It says Cheryl, who is a wife and a mom. Laura is a wife, mom, and a graduate student. Terry, a single professional, three former college who keep in touch through email. What follows are some excerpts from their communication that show their thoughts and struggles over the roles God has assigned them. This email sketch is adapted from an original work. She's talking about some other thing. So we talk about Cheryl. It says, Dear Cheryl, just a quick message to let you know that Brian was named head of the chemistry department. Finally. Catherine and Tim are both in high school, and the big news is I'm back in school too. I've always regretted not finishing my accounting degree, but it was hard putting Brian through and trying to go myself. Then the kids came along. Well, you know the story, but now it's my time. You were so smart to finish school when you did, when you did, and get the career experience under your belt before starting a family. You have it all: a successful career in your past and 3 darling children in your present. Wonder Woman, right when you have a chance. That's one person's perspective. Here's Laura. Back in school, huh? Boy, does that sound like fun. Just think, in a couple of semesters, you'll be shopping for one of the expensive power suits fancy businesswomen wear. I'm jealous. I have a closet full of beautiful clothes, and all I wear these days are sweats. Actually, they're all I can fit in. The twins turned 4 last month, and I'm still trying to get rid of those last 10 pounds. Yesterday, I went to the supermarket with a jelly handprint plastered on my rear end. I feel like such a slob. You're so lucky. Gotta run. I need to get a roast in the oven, and I have carpool this afternoon. That was Laura's story. Laura, dear Laura, I flew in from Switzerland on Thursday. Oh, that was Cheryl. They were writing back to each other. I flew in from Switzerland on Thursday, picked up my mail, watered some dead house plants, and now I'm on my way to Mexico City. Fortunately, the airline food is so bad. I've lost 10 pounds in the past month. Cheryl tells me you're back in school. That's wonderful. You're too bright to waste all of the talent cooking pot roasts and driving carpools. Thanks for trying to fix me up with the attorney on Long Island. I can't believe his name is Tony Wright. Mr. Wright, finally. I have the 18th through the 23rd open, and he has the 22nd through the 25th open. So we're going to try to get together for dinner on the 22nd or the 23rd. More later. I need to fix some stats to a client in Geneva. That was Terry's story. Now this is Terry. Dear Terry, Switzerland, Mexico City, I can't stand it. All I ever wanted to do was travel. But with 2 teens in the house, Brian and I never get to go anywhere. Catherine just got her driver's license, which is pretty scary. And Tim is so involved with sports, he can't even want to go on a vacation with us. He doesn't even want to go on a vacation with us. I keep telling myself to hold on for 4 more years, and then I'll have all the freedom in the world, all the freedom and no cash. Do you know what tuition is running? Even at a state school, it's outrageous. Catherine is bound and determined to go to veterinarian school. I don't know why she thinks she'll like taking care of other people's pets when she doesn't even clean up the cat box at home. You're lucky you don't have any kids to worry about. Everybody got a story. The next one, this is Cheryl. There's just stories going back and forth with each other. She's at the elementary bus, picked up Adam, and the twins are down for a nap. So I might have time to finish this note. If you could see through email, you see that my new white blouse is now purple, part of my long and complicated breakfast accident, and which I had rather not elaborate on. Suffice it is to say, we now really need new den carpeting. Thank you for remembering my birthday. The perfume soap and bubble bath are the real treat, and I'm looking forward to a long soak next fall. When the twins start kindergarten, when the kids start kindergarten, I heard from Laura a few weeks ago. She's going back to school to finish her degree. I'm so jealous. The only books I have time to read these days are the same words over and over again: hop, pop, top, and stop. Right when you stop, when you can. I know you're traveling a lot, and I like hearing about these exotic places. I'm gonna stop right there. Have any of you ever thought about your story was the only story that was going on, and what you had taking place, and you haven't stopped to check in? This is why it's so important to check in with your girlfriend sometimes, that y'all have like us coming in like this here, because what it does is snaps you out of the routine of where you are and helping you to realize the thing that you dread. I would love to have that thing that you're calling going back to school and having time for that. I wish I could. And now I've got all these, we always find something. Everybody's got a different story to life. Any of you ever thought about that? And you don't think about it until you get with your girlfriend. You start realizing, oh my God, I got some things, but I think I need to be content in the place that I'm in. I don't know if I would enjoy doing what they're doing over there. Anybody? Well, I'll start off. I have one of my girlfriends. We don't get a chance to catch up with each other much, but we're trying our best to be more intentional with that, because every time we do get a chance to talk, we start seeing each other from a different angle. She's a school teacher. She's a retired school teacher that went back to school, and she's teaching tired. The kids are this and that, but she really, really loves what she does. So when we talk, I get to hear the stories of what the kids have done, what the parents have done, all that kind of stuff. And here I am trying to go back to school so I can finish up my degree. And she's thinking, oh, that's so overrated. She's not saying that, but it's like, oh my God, she got her degree finished up when we were like 22, 23 years old. And here I am. But on the other side, there are a lot of life experiences that I have that she knows nothing about. She asked me things. She said, Marilyn, when did you find time to put together this ministry? And I said, well, I mean, I didn't actually, I wasn't caught up in my career so much. And I put a lot of my focus and attention on, the things of God. I come from a city that's kind of a Bible Belt city, where you can find a church everywhere you go. So that's probably going to be something very important that's there. And I was content in the city that I was in and the assignment that God has given me. And I wouldn't trade it for anything. I love the fact that I got my relationship with God solid and laid out and able to do some things with God, because that's really where I find my contentment at in life. I find joy. I find so much happiness, within myself. But there are still some things that I long to do. Now, will I trade off what God has given to me? No, sir. It was funny. I was having a conversation with God last night about my prayers are that this year will be the year that I will meet my mate, this year. And I have to keep going back to God about my declaration is nothing shall separate me from the love of God. I'm not talking about being perfect in the relationship or anything like that, but I don't want anything coming in to steal my time from the way that God and I fellowship with each other. That means I still want to serve. I still want to do this. So it's going to be very important that whoever, comes into my life understands that this is what I do on Saturday mornings. Now, if we have something planned, and the ladies don't mind us shifting or whatever the case may be, but I don't want somebody just coming and say, can you just change your plans up? Whatever. No, I have obligations where I am. This is between me and God. our relationship, we have to put the relationship where it belongs or whatever the case be. But I'm going to treat it just as important. But the main thing is I'm not fixed to come up off of my post of loving what has been sustaining me all of this time, just to add something new onto my life, that I believe will morph in as time. And then one of the things I have to remember too, whichever one is strongest in the Lord, much is going to be required of you as well. Unless you just meet somebody that both of y'all are just so, they've been bathing in the spirit as, like that too. Y'all will probably be on, one accord with each other. But there are times when y'all are going to have to meet each other exactly where you are. And we may not have all started our journey out the same way. We need to be compatible. That's what I talked about in the relationship thing. We need to have some chemistry and compatibility, but we may not be all in the same profession or the same gifting or calling. And I don't want anybody, I don't want to get to the point to where I'm over there wishing that I had what somebody else had when I love what God has given to me. Everything else is an addition to my life. I think what happens with a lot of single and married people, because I think I heard one of the stories here where the lady talked about how now she's trying to go back to school because she spent time at the beginning putting her husband through school. She put the focus on the family and allowed him to be, the one that finished up school. And now it's her turn to go back, being content in the role you're in. There are some people that have felt very, I don't know, tables turn a lot, y'all. And I think that whatever you do, whether it be word or in deed, makes you do it as unto the Lord. If you're going to serve your family like that, serve your mate like that, make sure that that's something that God is in the middle of, because you're going to have to keep going back to him for reference and, whatever. So a long story short, my prayer was, God, I don't want to do anything I don't want anybody that comes in to take away what it is that I do. And I understand that the time may be limited. I may not be able to do as much as I'm doing right now, but God knows how to orchestrate that as well, and what happens is God will start bringing other people in that can facilitate these different things that can go on so that the ministry not fall apart or whatever. So just learning how to be content. And, when I talk to my girlfriend, she may not understand that Marilyn wants to be married one day because she's been married for a while, or I may not understand why she wants to be married to the man she married to, because that's how you do it, drink all the time. I don't get it, but I never put her down. Everybody got a grace for something. So I learned to be content in the state that I'm in. Amen. Want to welcome Miss Faith in today. Want to welcome you. Anybody want to share on those conversations? Did any of you find yourself in any of those stories there? Anybody?
Marilyn, I just want to say good morning to you and to all the sisters on the line.
Good
morning.
morning.
And I do apologize for being late, but I had a little situation happen here at the house. One of the sections of my closet broke, and all my clothes on that side, it felt like a mountain. And so I was trying to get that somewhat not in order. I can't get in order overnight, but that's what delayed me from being on. So I apologize.
That's okay. That's good. You know what? That goes, well, we're talking about it here where one lady is wishing one thing. Faith may have wanted to be in the room, but somebody may be wishing for a house. They wish they did have a house where something in the closet will fall apart.
My God. It's like, yeah, but that was the Lord. He's been fighting with me. He said, you need to get organized. You need to go through that closet and start purging. And I was like, oh God, yes, I do need to do it. So, I mean, it broke and it's making me do it. Sometimes when we fight those seasons, right, and when he wants to push you forward and he said, okay, if you won't do it, I'm going to do something to make you do it. So, yeah, so that's why I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just wanted to tell everybody good afternoon.
That's okay. Faith, that's a good one. I think someone was mentioning about the married, being, getting ready to get married. And Faith is getting ready to get married. And I know that she's probably going through a lot of transitions right now. And the thing is being content in your singleness. But there are times when, like Faith said, she's having to go through a season of purging, getting rid of a whole lot of things and putting things in place. I think that's something that's important in your single season. when you know that you have been believing God for a mate, you know there's going to be some blending that take place sooner or another. Either he going to come your way, you going to go his way, or whatever. And we got to make room for whatever it is that we're believing God for. And sometimes the closet will fall down before you start going and doing some of that. But that's a great lesson to many of us, to go ahead and start purging if that's what you're believing God for, because I'm doing that too, Faith. we're going to be off next week, and my prayer, I'm going through the storage building in the back and purging that thing, getting rid of some stuff,
and that is so good, Marilyn, what you said. I mean, yes, do it now. And not only purging materialistic things that have accumulated over the years that you feel that are special to you,
Mm-hmm.
They're close to your heart or whatever, in that season. Sometimes when we are transitioning, we have to really say goodbye to that stuff. And then, those seasons of remembrance that might didn't work out, you got something, but it wasn't really what God wanted it to be. And you have to throw all that stuff away. Anything is tangible to you that you can see, because it can trigger you, can bring up stuff, purge your heart, that internal stuff is so true. Because when you think about it, when we transition to a time of when we get elderly, you look at, and I look at when my mom was going through her illness and going in and out of nursing homes or whatever. If you think about it, they have limited places to put their things.
That's
They
right.
have the two drawers. They share the chest of drawer with their roommate if they have one. They have one chair, one nightstand, a little space in the closet. And as we get older, it's like, okay, God, we went through that season of accumulation, and as we transition out to be with Him, we have less, and we leave what we had when we came in,
That's
nothing.
right. Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so it's like I see the process so clear,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why, you really don't need all this stuff to
Yeah.
be happy, to be free, to enjoy life. You don't need all this weight. So
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. I love that. And that does have a lot to do with being content with my role, the role that I'm in, and y'all, this message can go in so many different ways. And I know as we are, just settling in, listening to the conversation today, it's making us think about a lot. Am I really content in the role that I'm in? We're transitioning through life, all the stuff. How many people have you been to their house and they got everything that they started off with 40, 50 years ago? I was listening to Priscilla Shire. She was telling a testimony. She had come to our church to speak, must have been a couple of years ago before I came there. And she talked about how this was a divine moment that God placed it in, because when Pastor Connor, he reached out to her, her schedule was tight. He said, but the Lord kept telling him that he wanted her to come there. And y'all, it was a series of things that took place that it literally dropped in his lap. She literally ended up coming to an event that they had at the church, and he used that opportunity to usher her in. So anyway, she came and she gave the most powerful message about transitioning or being content in the place that you're in. She talked about when her mom and dad, she said they've been in that house for 40 something years, and they've got all of this stuff when we were kids and whatever. And then one day before mom passed away, she told us, she said, Dad and I are getting rid of a lot of things from the house. They had put everything up in the storage building or whatever. And she said, she wanted all the kids to come and get the stuff that they wanted to take with them. She said, because otherwise on the whatever day, I've got a big truck coming to take away all of it. So Priscilla says she went there, and she said her stuff was up in the attic. And the first thing she saw was a journal, her box of journals that were there, had her name on the box. And she said she started reading. And she was telling the story. Oh, she would be so glad when she graduated from high school. Oh, she'd be so glad when she graduated from college. Oh, I'll be so glad when I, get married. And oh, I'll be so glad when, I have children. Oh, I'll be so glad when they can put their own seatbelt on. Oh, I'll be so glad when they finish this. And she said, it lets you know that we're not always content in the place that we're in. We're always looking for whatever the next. So a lot of times we're not in the moment. To me, this is something like with my children. I try to stay present in the moment with things, with the kids or whatever. Y'all can't leave y'all stuff at y'all parents' house forever. Y'all gonna have to come get this stuff at some point, put that stuff where it belongs, because our seasons of life have changed. I'm no longer parenting little kids like that. And I'm no longer a storage keeper either. I want to be able to, live my life and not be thinking about, oh, that's the kid stuff. And oh, I don't want to get rid of it. Some keepsakes you will keep, but I like what Faith says. Some of that stuff triggers you. There are some things you just don't want to keep. And I think it's very important to us to start thinking about that even now. That may be why we're not content in a lot of places that we have. We got too much stuff. We got too many memories. We never purge. Just say, for instance, if you went through, talking to married people, you went through a period in your marriage where there was infidelity and you guys decided to stay together. It takes a minute for you to, hey, Jizz, it takes a minute for you to come in and clean that space up, even in the mind that was there. And you got to get rid of anything that reminds you of that so that it does not keep bringing triggers in. That's a work all by itself. It's almost like you're single again, but you're married and you're having to make room for restoration. Restoration is not going to come with old things. Restoration comes when you put something new on top of what was already there. Foundation has already been set. And I'm not saying it's literally have to go back to a season of singleness for a while so the Lord can help you. And that means purging your memories of things, finding out what part you played in it. And then if you guys are going to push forward, let's push forward with content. I need you to be content in the person that you are. And I need to be content in the person that I am. And I think that we can walk through things in life. I don't think anything is too hard, but it's hard when you don't add God to it, So the next one, it says, what role do you play? It says all of us play a role in life. A role is defined as a character in a play. It says Julia Ormond played a silly young girl infatuated with a man without character in the movie Sabrina. In First Night, she was, or whatever that is, a queen forced to make choices that would mean life or death for those she loved. These are two different roles portrayed by the same actress. We use the word role to describe the part we play in life. Many of us, like Julia, play many different roles. Elizabeth knew many roles. She was in love and desired to be married. Yet she remained single for many years after she graduated from college. When she finally married her beloved, she was sure it would be forever. 2 years and 3 months later, she had a new role. It was called a widow. He says for 14 years, she was single again. God surprised her with a second husband, and the role of wife became hers again. This time it was for 6 years. Then once again, she became a widow. She was amazed when God brought her a third husband. Elizabeth played all her roles gracefully because she believed each role was a gift of God. How, you ask, can widowhood and singlehood be a gift? I'll let Elizabeth answer. She said, at the age of 23, God gave me the gift of singleness. At the age of 27, the gift of marriage. At the age of 29, the gift of widowhood. It was not a wife anymore. I was a widow. Another assignment, another gift. Don't imagine for a moment that was the thought that occurred to me the instant the word of my husband's death came. Oh Lord was probably all I could think of, stunned as I was, one step at a time. Over the years, as I sought to plumb the mystery of suffering, which cannot be plumbed, I began to see that there is a sense in which everything is a gift, even my widowhood. I was terrible. I was terribly. I do not say that I did not grieve, I did more soberly. But peace of the sort the world cannot give comes not by the removal of suffering, but in ways through acceptance. I think that's a good one there. That's a if you look at them as assignments, I think it helps us to navigate through things a little better, because we don't have the end all to things. But I believe God gives us the grace that we need to make it through whatever. That's why it's not good to stay in a story, about something too long that God has said amen to. You can't be here and there talking about the past all the time, but you're looking for a future. You have to put a period at the end of something and say amen to it and learn the lessons, and accept the assignment. Because if you accept the assignment properly, do you know God will give you another assignment? And if you look at your marriage, look at your children, all of that, those are gifts that come to us. And we want to make sure that we use the gifts that God gives to us properly. Are we exercising those things properly? And I think sometimes that thing being content in my role, I want to stay right here. I'm tired of things moving around. I just don't like all that shaking around. But sometimes you have to learn how to be content. Y'all, I have changed. When I was back in Tyler, I went from being just with friends, and then I changed role, started serving in the church. And I started serving at this one church. Oh, when I tell you I was so happy, oh my God, it was everything to me. And God allowed me to stay there for 5 years, only to disrupt the season. And I would have to switch again. I ended up going to another place, and it took me a minute because I didn't want to leave where I was. It was just that the church ended up splitting. And when I went into this new place, y'all, when I tell you it took me, I didn't want to go, but I knew it was an assignment that came from God. And when I tell you, it taught me some of my greatest lessons called warfare, learning how to trust God through so many different seasons of life. And eventually the season came to a close. It was about 5 years there. The next season that I get ready to go through, I'm trying to be a little bit more careful about where I lay my head at or my head at, whatever the case be. Now, in the middle of one of the reasons of being away the second time is because I got married. I moved from serving in the church to serving in my marriage. And when that assignment came in, I don't think I took the assignment as serious as I should have, because leaving the second place, remember I told you there was a lot of warfare that was there. The residue of the warfare was on me. And it was hard to deal with the warfare there and deal with a new marriage over here. And then not only did the warfare come from there and then a new marriage, and then there my child gets it. This is all during that season when Ahmad gets in trouble, all of that. Those years, when I tell you, it's almost like I regretted those years, y'all, for so long, because it was like, God, I didn't even have to come to this church. I shouldn't have never been over here. I should have stayed where I was, should have weathered it out. I was going through all of that. But y'all, it was only until I realized that every part of it was going to be the makeshift of what God had for me later. I did not see ultimate connections coming in. I can see the story more now while the Lord has allowed me to go through a lot of things because of the families that I would end up touching. I can almost tell y'all a story about almost anything: church, jobs, relationships, family. I'm more passionate about the things that I stayed closest to the most. I'm not real passionate about the job situation because that's never a place that I really just sunk my teeth into. Ministry was always who I was. But one of the things I had to do with every one of those seasons, I had to pack those seasons up and put them away so that I can move into the next one properly. That second one, it was hard to move from it. And I didn't pack it up properly until years and years later, y'all. I think it's important that we do understand that those roles that we play, they are assignments, and then you gotta, we do the best that we can there. And later on, y'all, but let me tell you, the way that God blessed me when I came up out of that, Oh my God. But I had to hang my hat on amen. And the next ministry that came up in my life, it was everything I could have ever dreamed of. Everything. God didn't make me start all over from where I stopped at. He put me in full-time ministry. I became the what they call the adult ministry coordinator in the church. Y'all, I was the one putting all the ministries together, any adult ministry, even children, anything that they need to put together. I didn't know those gifts and skills were upon me, and I used them to the best. And y'all, it was the most amazing time in ministry. And then afterwards, I got the gift of ultimate connections. I didn't go to another ministry. That's why I've not gotten involved with any churches right now, because God put so much in my hand. But what I'm saying is they all came as assignments. And until you have, used the assignment that God has given to you properly and learn the things you need to learn, you won't be prepared for where you're going. I will say this to you. I do believe in time that I will become a part of the ministry of where I am, but it's going to be at such a greater capacity than I ever was at these other places. Before I left, I was at the position to where they were getting ready to put me in as the executive pastor of the church. You got to be ready for that, y'all. And in my heart, I'm thinking I'm not married. That's a position I need my husband and I to be in. But y'all, God left he left the remnant of it. It's still in my heart. All of it, and it won't be surprised me where the Lord places me at my new church, but it's only in time. I have not let anybody know about any Gabriella. She's the only one that's hearing any of my story. I have not gotten close to anybody at the church. And I'm not surprised that God has brought me closer to her, because later on, the testimony of all of it will be shown. You wonder sometimes why her gift so strong like she is. Y'all, I served full-fledged in ministry. And I'm not talking about no little bitty stuff. I'm talking about full-fledged in ministry. But I learned how to put that hat away when I was done with, because I couldn't serve there and Ultimate Connections at the same time. God gave me a whole ministry. And so now, if I want to be married, I got to be able to I'm not going to give away Ultimate Connections at all. This is what God has given to me, but I'm going to make sure to scoot over a little bit, let some other people come in, and let's do this thing together. And then let's serve in our church together. I want my husband and I to serve in our church together. We're going to add to all of these little pieces. All of them are assignments. And you got to be ready to pack a lot of things away and get ready for what God has for you guys. Anybody want to share on that part before we close out on that last chapter there? This one here is talking about what role do you play? And have you looked at it as an actual assignment? Anybody?
Ooh, wow. That is a lot to unpack right there. I
Yeah.
mean, I could say for my season right now, but I do agree with you, Marilyn, in terms of where God places you, it's gonna be well, I think that, and I sense that God, before He places you in a role like where I believe that God is calling you to, you got to go through these seasons in order to discern, because that
Yeah.
discernment got to be like so key, right? Because you have so many people that are pulling on you and that have needs that you have to discern, is this an assignment, or is this, a situation where I just pray for them in a
Yes.
need? You got to kind of know where your place is in that, because if not, especially because our heart, our heart, and we're nurturing, we want to help or whatever. And I had to learn that even in the position that I am in my ministry, is that you can't bear all that.
That's right.
And you probably, you already been through that. I'm going through that. You have to know what to, what that season really is with that member or that partner in that ministry, and where you need to cut it off, because you never want to maybe disciple them and they become dependent on you for everything, when decisions they have to make, that they're so dependent on your voice and what you pour into them, that They feel like they're unsure. So that's really telling me, signaling that they haven't developed their relationship as close to God that they need to, right?
Mhm.
So it's like building up another skin, another layer on you because you have to protect your heart, even
Mhm.
walking through the seasons of ministry.
Yeah.
You got to protect your heart because it gets difficult sometimes.
Mhm. Mhm.
People hurt and struggling. Um, they don't know what direction, and
Yeah.
God wants them to navigate with Him, and not always someone giving them suggestions of what you should do or whatever, pray
Mhm.
about it,
Mhm.
whatever. But that is really important. What you're saying, I thank God for that.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things I will say to that with faith, if you think about it, it'll tell you where your call is at. I think that was one of the questions that we had at our last meeting. Does everybody know where their calling is at? Do you know where your gifts are at? And I know that there is a gift of pastoralship that's on me. And with pastoralship, you care for families. You really do. But you also have to bring some elders and some deacons in to handle family issues that are going on.
Yes.
Yeah. But if you think about it, if we go back to the beginning of this book, when they were talking about the different roles that the mothers were walking in, you start off with infancy with your babies, and eventually they start growing, they start weaning. It's the same thing in ministry. The children depend on you more when they're in a survival state or whatever. But when they get bigger, remember, it's good to have more than one child too, because the older they get, some of the other children can come in and help out, but you want to make sure that you place that in the hands of mature and capable siblings that can, help and serve with that. And I think that has been one of the things that I have learned about being a servant of God, and that's being a mother, that's being everything. I can't be everything to everybody. Y'all, I say the same thing with my children, and I'm believing the same thing with my spouse, because a lot of times people will come to you and they won't show up for what they're supposed to do because they know you're going to do it all the time. But there are times you literally have to allow them to feel it themselves. You got to go through it so that you can learn from it. It's all about taking responsibility. And one of the hardest things is to switch to end an assignment of caring in the same capacity. Like for instance, with our this year has been the greatest turning point. But we started preparing 2 years ago for the shift. Started bringing in other leaders, different things like that. I knew that there was some things that I was designing, and I knew that it was not healthy as much as this ministry is growing for people to, be dependent upon you, whatever. So we started bringing in, different leaders or whatever. And this year has been the year to where I remember when the Tender at Heart group, they wanted to get that started back up again. I knew I didn't have the capacity to do it. So my question was, well, will one of y'all going to do it? And so as they came in, I could tell that they were so used to Miss Marilyn doing a lot of the work for them that I had to push them. Okay, you guys need to go in and set up. I've already got the foundation for Zoom set up for you. I need you guys to come on in and be a part of the training. I'm not going to keep going over the training over and over with you, but I'm going to show you how to do it. But I need you to get some people that can help you to do what you need to do. And one day, y'all, I watched them. They were in the background. They were struggling. Oh my God, they were struggling so hard. And the Lord said, do not go over there. They will figure that out. So I saw them going back and forward on the texting and all that. And all I did was start praying for them. That's another season of life. I think it's where Juanita said it at the beginning. You got to know when that's something for you to do or whether it's your season for prayer. They can do it. Your kids, I promise you, they can do it. The people that are connected to you, you don't have to keep reminding them of things. They can do it. That's a part of who we are as a nurturer. Sometimes we got to trust and believe that God has given them the ability to do whatever it is that they need to do, and you got to trust him through the process. It does not take away the assignment that you have. I understand the role that's there, but at the same time, I want to teach them that you can do whatever you believe you can do. that teaches people not to be so dependent upon you. You know, that's why I talk a lot about timing. I talk about management. You got to manage your time. You got to do a lot of y'all. If y'all only knew what I go through to make sure to make in for the rooms that I have, to be there on time. And when I tell you, I have to push heaven and hell. That was when Juanita came a couple of weeks ago. We were doing, maybe a month ago, we were getting ready for our Dallas chapter. Y'all, I had just come back from the grocery store. Because I had to shut down Friday to get ready for Saturday. And the luncheon was starting, I think at that one, we were starting at 11 o'clock. So I had to get up early to go clean up, put everything in place, and then go to the grocery store to go pick up the stuff that I needed. I was back before we got started. Just so happened that Juanita got here early. Y'all just don't know what a person goes through to set things up so that I can be on time. See, I know that if I show up the way that God tells me to show up, that means that I'm prepared for some other things in life. And sometimes we don't realize the preparation that God, the prep stages that God is taking you through for some other things that he wants to do for you in your life. He said, to whom much is given, much is required. So there is no such thing like, I can't make a reason for not doing this or that. Maybe I should have got up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I wouldn't want to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, but I'm being content in the assignment. God, I believe this is what you gave me. I think it's going to be beneficial, and you got to learn how to show up. And it just so happened everything worked out just the way it was supposed to. It's only when we put it in our mind that I'm not going to be able to do it. I don't have the time for that. You have to be content in the assignment that God has given to you, because the Lord will anoint you to do whatever it is. You don't know when people just ran up on stage, and you know, they may have just gotten to the church, but they showed up and they got there like they were supposed to. The assignment, that's all I'm talking about, the assignments that we have. Your marriage, you may not feel like you're not ready or qualified or whatever. Show up anyway. If that's what you want, show up in the best manner that you can, the best role that you can, and believe God. We'll close on this one here. It says, what role did you play? And then it says all roles are difficult. Not some, but all. No role is without difficulties. Perhaps your husband is not the man you thought he was or the man you hope him to be. Perhaps your sexual relationship is not what you expected. It's hard day in and day out, year after year, to love to seek his best. It's hard to keep marriage excited, communication open, sex from being numb, dull. Yes, it's hard, but it's worth the effort. It says, Jody and I just celebrated our 56th wedding anniversary, and our oneness and love is deeper. It gets deeper each year that passes. The intimacy we experience has not come easily, but it has been hammered out in real life, day by day and year by year. I wouldn't trade what we have today for anything. Believe me, it's worth the sacrifice. While I've never been widowed or lived on my own as a single woman, some of my friends have told me that loneliness is their deepest difficulty. Elizabeth Elwood wrote, in some ways, all single people are misfits in society, just as someone who has lost a leg in amputation and is handicapped. God meant for everybody to have two legs apiece. We don't notice them when they are both there, but if one is missing, it's noticeable. She said that as a widow, she never enjoyed being a she never enjoyed being a fifth wheel. I threw things off. I threw things off balance simply by being there. But there was a reality I had to come to the terms with. This is where I am. And I think that's where some of us, I think it's time to take a reality check of where you really are in this season of life that you're in, and to make an honest assessment. Are there some things that you need to add? There's some things you need to take away. Are you content in the role that you serve as a mother, as a spouse or as a friend or as a leader? Are you content? Have you given it your very best? Or do you give it the leftovers that are there? And whatever it is that you put on that list that we talked about at the beginning of the call, I want you to go and assess it and ask the question, am I being the best that I can be with that? Anywhere you're not being the best that you should be in is where you're going to find a deficiency in. And those are the areas that you got to go in and strengthen: my communication, my timeliness, like Faith said, being organized, my conversation. There are some conversations that we have that throw the frequency of God off. Like, I don't see how, different things like that. You don't have to see how, you don't have to know how, you have to trust God to go in it. So getting little things up off of our lips, like maybe things that sabotage where we're going, I ain't gonna do that, I ain't gonna be doing this, all of those kind of things. If it is an assignment that you have believed God for, and it is something, a gift that God has given to you, know without a shadow of a doubt that God has already started the grace process. I'm giving you a grace for what it is that you need. Now I need you to come to a place of contentment in being in the role that you're in. And I think when we get to that place, things start smoothing out so much more effortlessly than we could ever imagine. So we close on this one, and it says that what does God ask? What is God's standard of evaluation for you and me in our given roles, success and perfection? His word tells us it is required that those who have been given a trust must prove themselves to be faithful. Faithfulness is God's standard. As his servants, we are not required to be perfect or successful, simply faithful. We have been given a trust. We have been entrusted with many things: our natural gifts, our spiritual gifts, our financial resources. Our assigned role is also a trust. In his love, he has given each of us the gift of singleness, or the gift of marriage, or the gift of widowhood. In his sovereignty, he has said it is in the role that we can best glorify him. Will you trust God that your assigned cup and portion comes from his loving hand? Will you choose to use your role as a place to serve others? And will you pray this prayer? Said, Holy Spirit, you know the joys, the heartaches of my role. I confess that I have fought against what you have given. Grant me the courage to be a servant. Oh God, I long to be faithful to you. I accept my assigned role as a gift. Teach me to cease striving and know that you are God. That is contentment with my role, chapter 4. And we'll have some last words. We got about 6 minutes. Anybody want to share anything, your thoughts, or maybe revelation that God has given you guys just through this study here? Anybody? What are the thoughts that run through your mind? We got a lot to work on, y'all. That place of being content. One of the things that I would say is, ladies, if you would make this time that we have together a priority, like when you get up in the morning time, know that, all right, I need to be here. I need to be in place. I need to be still. You can shut everything else down if you will put it on your heart to do that, on your mind to do it, and then trust God to push away everything that comes in as a distraction in your life. Because this place, this book, it is really setting a strong foundation for the next things that God is getting ready to do in our life. And we want to make sure that we go check on the house as the house is being built. Are they putting the frameworks in good? Or are those floors going in the way that I wanted them to? Am I dealing with that patterning that's in my heart? Am I depending on God? Am I talking to God about this issue that I have going on? Or am I using complaining as in exchange for understanding that this is a gift? When you see that, the countenance upon the face of others that look like they so calm, that's where it's coming from. It's coming from a place of contentment. No matter what state that I'm in, no matter how long it takes God to do whatever he needs to do, God, I'm going to stay right here until change comes, because I believe that he that has began a great work in me, he's going to finish it until the day of Jesus Christ. He knows more of the parts to the puzzle. He knows where all of them are more than I do. And many times I just need to ask God, all right, God, what are we doing next? What do we need to do? And where are the pieces at? How do we do that? Any last comments from anybody? All right. Well, I want to say thank you, ladies, for joining in this morning. Our next event will be an outing. We're looking at the Pottery House. They may be a tad bit expensive. So I'm going to do the research on it this week to make sure. But if not, we will find something else to do, because I don't want anything to ever be so costly to where we can't do it. But whatever we're doing on the 24th of May. I want y'all to make plans. Those of you that are not in the Dallas, that make plans to be here. I think we're going to be going from 1 to 4 o'clock p.m. on that day. Set aside that time. Go before the Lord. Lord, I need to be there, whatever it is that we're doing. And come on in and meet the ladies within the group, find fellowship with them, and use this as a time to say, you know what, God, I thank you for the people that you've added into my life. I thank you for this new season. And I do believe that you're working out something that I have been praying about for a long time and didn't know how to get there. Amen. Well, that's our word for today. I pray you guys be blessed. I pray that you go back and read over the book, read over the chapters. Let this thing be your guide, because I promise you, God is taking us somewhere with this book. Amen. Well, Father, we thank you today and bless the rest of this day as we get ready to go forward. And Father, we give you glory and we give you our heart of contentment that whatever state that we're in, God, we're going to be happy about it. In Jesus' name, amen. Y'all have a wonderful Saturday, and we'll see you later. And I'll keep you guys posted.